My name is Alex, and I work as a marketing assistant at a busy tech company called Innovatech, located in sunny San Francisco. Each morning, I walk through the modern glass doors, my heart feeling heavy like a stone. The energy in the office is always buzzing, but under the excitement, there's a tension that makes me uneasy. My coworkers used to be friendly, but lately, things have changed. There are whispers and cold looks as competition grows fierce. I often feel stressed and unhappy, wondering if I truly belong here. A challenge is looming, and I can sense it in the air, making me question if it's time to make a tough decision about my future. The tension at Innovatech grew thicker over the next few weeks as deadlines piled up, and the stress seeped into everything we did. I found myself sitting at my desk, staring at a blank document. My mind raced as I struggled to focus on the presentation for our critical project next week. My manager, Mr. Thompson, walked by, his eyes lingering on my screen. I'm sure he could see my frustration. "Everything okay, Alex?" he asked, his voice firm yet tinged with concern. My heart raced. I wanted to respond honestly, but fear held me back. I couldn't let him see how lost I felt. Instead, I forced a smile. "Just working through some ideas, Mr. Thompson," I replied, my voice wavering slightly. He nodded but looked skeptical. I could feel the pressure to perform weighing down on me, a growing mountain that I couldn't seem to climb. Later that day, during a team meeting, things took a turn for the worse. We gathered around a large table, sharing updates and ideas about the campaign we were working on. As my turn approached, my palms grew sweaty. I had prepared notes, but in that moment they felt meaningless. When I stood up to speak, my hands trembled. Okay, everyone. I think our next steps should focus on social media engagement," I said, trying to sound confident. But when I glanced around the table, the reactions weren't what I hoped for. Julie, a sharp coworker known for her quick wit, raised an eyebrow. "Social media? Isn't that a bit vague? What do you exactly mean?" she challenged. My stomach dropped. I realized I hadn't fully thought out my suggestion, and I felt the heat rise to my cheeks. "I meant we could, try to create more posts and maybe," I stammered. The words tangled in my mind, slipping away just as quickly as they appeared. Everyone stared at me, waiting. I wanted to shrink into my seat. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat. "Let's take a step back. Alex, why don't you work on this more before we finalize any plans?" The hint in his tone was clear. I needed to do better. As the meeting wrapped up, I felt the doubts flooding in. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this job. Maybe everyone would be better off without me. The doubts held me like a tight grip, squeezing my confidence away. I collapsed into my chair, feeling lost. In my mind, I replayed the moments of uncertainty, the missed opportunities to shine. I started worrying these mistakes would define my future in this company. With each passing hour, my nerves grew stronger, making it harder for me to concentrate. I watched my coworkers sharing ideas, laughing together, while I felt isolated from their energy. I took a deep breath, trying to clear my head, but all I could think about was how I would face Mr. Thompson tomorrow. What if I disappointed him again? What if I failed to prove myself? These thoughts swirled in my mind like storm clouds as I packed up my bag at the end of the day. As I walked to the bus stop, the bright lights of San Francisco cast shadows around me, reflecting my internal struggles. Each step felt heavy as I moved away from the office. I knew I needed to find a way through this storm. The following week, I felt the weight on my shoulders grow heavier. As if the pressure from my earlier mistakes wasn't enough, Mr. Thompson called a sudden meeting to discuss an urgent pitch for a new client. "We need to have a strong proposal ready by Friday," he announced, his voice serious. Time was slipping away, and I could see the concern on everyone's faces. As we met in the conference room, the mood shifted dramatically. Julie was there, ready with her critical feedback, while Brian, another colleague, busily jotted down ideas in his notepad. I felt an icy knot of anxiety twist in my stomach. This was my chance to contribute, to finally prove my worth. But as brainstorming began, all my earlier doubts bubbled back to the surface. What if I said something foolish again? When it was my turn to speak, I hesitated, my heart racing. What if we upgrade our branding a bit? Felt weak, uncertain, echoing my earlier mistakes. Brian immediately jumped in. That's a bit vague, don't you think? We're expecting something stronger for a client like this. His words stung like sharp needles piercing through my already fragile confidence. Yeah, something concrete, Julie added, rolling her eyes. The flickers of their expressions cast shadows over my thoughts. I sat back, feeling trapped. The uncertainty made me weary, and I could see Mr. Thompson shooting me brief glances that screamed disappointment. I quickly shifted focus to my notebook, desperately penning down ideas I didn't even believe in. The pressure to shine had turned into a crushing weight, clouding my mind with confusion. As the meeting wrapped up, I felt the air in the room thicken. Mr. Thompson ended by saying, "Alex, I really need you to take the lead on the client presentation. It's crucial for our success." My heart sank. It felt like standing on a tightrope, one gust of wind away from oblivion. The thought of stepping up felt overwhelming. I had failed in front of them before. What if I failed again? Back at my desk, I couldn't concentrate. All around me, my colleagues were diving into discussions, brainstorming and laughing. I felt like an outsider watching from a distance. My thoughts spiraled into a whirlwind of fear. Each tick of the clock reminded me of the deadline approaching, and the stress bubbled over like a pot about to boil. That night, I sat on the bus gazing out the window, the bright city lights blurring together. Images of my potential failures flooded my mind. But mixed with this stress was a small spark of something else: determination. I realized that I couldn't allow the fear of failing to paralyze me any longer. I needed to change my approach. I decided right then I would take action. Perhaps it was time to set aside self-doubt and ask for help. Maybe if I reached out to my colleagues or my manager, I could gather the support I needed. I wanted to build confidence, to step out of the shadows and rise to the challenge. By the time I got off the bus, something had shifted inside me. I wasn't going to let this moment define me. Instead, I would put my fear aside, take a deep breath, and strive to do better. The day of the client presentation had arrived, and the atmosphere in the office pulsed with anxiety. I could feel the excitement and tension in my colleagues as they hurried about, preparing their notes and checking details. My heartbeat raced as I stared at my reflection in the observant glass of the conference room. This was it, the moment I had both dreaded and longed for. I could feel every fear creeping back in, gnawing at my confidence. What if I failed? What if my ideas were not good enough? But even through this storm of worries, I felt the flicker of determination reigniting inside me. As the meeting time approached, I took a deep breath, trying to center my thoughts. Visualizing success briefly calmed my racing heart. I started replaying the words I carefully crafted in my mind, needing to make a strong impact. Just then, Mr. Thompson came in. "Alex, remember, you've got this," he said, his voice steady. Chills ran down my spine, and I nodded, but I still felt a knot of fear tied tightly in my stomach. When it was time for the presentation to start, I entered the room with shaky legs, the bright lights above shining down like a spotlight on my insecurities. I opened the meeting nervously. The client sat across from us, their gaze fixed on me as I stood in front of a large screen displaying my slides. "Thank you all for being here," I began, my voice barely above a whisper. My mind felt like a maze. The details of the proposal I wanted to convey were blurred by my anxious thoughts. Suddenly, something inside me clicked. I remembered the determination I felt on the bus last night. I focused on the screen, pulled my shoulders back, and projected my voice louder, stronger. Today, I want to talk about how we can improve your brand visibility using innovative social media strategies. My presentation flowed more smoothly than I expected. Each slide brought life to my ideas, and I started to feel a sense of control over the conversation. But as I began to elaborate on the plans, my confidence wavered. I noticed Julie's skeptical expression lingering at the edge of my vision, and Brian whispered something to her. My heart sunk again. Were they doubting me already? Taking a mental pause, I reminded myself this was my chance to shine. I had to push through the fear. I turned to face them both directly, a spark igniting within me. "I understand you may have concerns," I stated, channeling my unease into a bold reply. "But I believe these strategies can connect us to new audiences and breathe fresh life into our campaign. I'm ready to listen to your feedback and improve this plan together." My words hung in the air, and I could feel the surprise of my colleagues at my sudden assertiveness. In that moment, I realized I was not just fighting for my project but for my growth. This was a turning point. I faced my fears and allowed my voice to be heard. I didn't need to go through this alone. As the discussion continued, ideas blossomed, and to my relief, my colleagues began to support my vision. I could see small smiles emerge as Mr. Thompson nodded. This was my moment. I was transforming from doubt to determination, taking ownership of this challenging journey. As my words left my lips with newfound confidence, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The skeptical looks on Julie's and Brian's faces began to change, replaced by cautious curiosity. I had taken a risk by asserting my ideas in front of everyone, and for a brief moment, I held my breath, waiting for their reactions. Mr. Thompson leaned forward, an approving smile on his face as I wrapped up my presentation. "That was an impressive turnaround, Alex," he said, and my heart fluttered. His praise felt like a warm sunbeam breaking through a cloudy sky. The tension that gripped me slowly began to ease. I realized, then, that showing my true self was starting to resonate with everyone around me. Julie finally spoke, her tone softer than before. "I see what you're saying. Your points about reaching new audiences could actually work, especially how we can engage with younger clients." Hearing her acknowledgement felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. I had believed I needed their approval to succeed, but now I understood I only needed to trust myself. As we continued to discuss the presentation, Brian shared some ideas to complement mine. Receptive dialogue flowed, and soon enough, the room buzzed with excitement. My heart soared as I watched my colleagues engaging with me, transforming our presentation from a simple proposal into a collaborative project. There was a sense of unity I hadn't felt before, which made each passing moment sweeter. Yet somewhere deep down, a hint of fear lingered. What if my ideas fell short even with their support? Still, I chose to push those nagging doubts aside. I remembered the determination I felt the night before, stirring up my inner strength to embrace both the positive and the uncertain. By the meeting's end, I caught the approving nods among my team, and my heart swelled with pride. Each smile and committed, "Let's do this," fueled a fire inside of me. It wasn't just about the immediate success of the presentation, but realizing that I could contribute meaningfully in this role. Perhaps I had been limiting myself by letting my fears dictate how I communicated with my colleagues. As the client left, satisfied with our proposal, I caught Mr. Thompson's eyes. He approached me, genuine respect shining in his expression. "You've shown remarkable growth today, Alex. Keep this up, and you'll go far in this industry." I felt gratitude wash over me, threading through my body like springs igniting a new purpose. In that moment, I learned something profound about myself. I didn't have to be perfect or embody the expectations others placed upon me. I could be authentic, and that authenticity would guide me. Embracing my fears had brought unexpected respect, both from my peers and myself. Perhaps from here on out, I would focus on building collaboration rather than merely searching for approval. Leaving the conference room, I could hardly hold back my smile. The glow of accomplishment enveloped me as I quietly acknowledged that this moment was not just about the project, but a vital stepping stone towards becoming who I truly wanted to be, a confident contributor in a thriving workplace. My recent struggles became lessons, and with every challenge faced, I stood a little stronger. Today marked a change, the beginning of my journey to truly rise. After the exhilarating wave of the presentation faded, I found a quiet corner near the window of the office, soaking in the bright sunlight pouring through. I needed to reflect. My mind raced with thoughts about what had just happened. The shaky start, the unexpected shifts, and the rewarding outcome. I felt drained, but it was a good kind of exhaustion, a victorious one. As I sat there, I saw Mr. Thompson making his way over to me. I admired how he carried himself with authority yet kindness. He had unknowingly become a beacon of guidance during my tough times. When he reached me, he leaned against the wall with a relaxed demeanor. "Hey, Alex, I just wanted to see how you're feeling after that meeting," he said, his voice comforting. "I feel much better now," I admitted, letting out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. It was tough at first, but I pushed through. I never expected to gain some support along the way. Mr. Thompson nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. "That was a commendable moment for you. It takes courage to stand up and express yourself, especially in front of a room full of critical eyes. Trusting your ideas is essential." His words struck a chord. I realize now that I've often let my fears take control. Instead of believing in myself, I focused too much on what everyone else thought. "Exactly," he replied, clearly impressed. "You've now seen that collaboration is key. This isn't just about you presenting your ideas. It's about working together to reach common goals. You should always remember that your input is valuable, especially when it's rooted in your experiences, as they're what shape your perspective." I took a moment to process his wisdom, nodding slowly. "I've learned that I can bring something unique to our team. I don't have to be perfect. I just need to be authentic." A warmth spread through me at this realization. I didn't have to wear a mask or imitate others. My own voice mattered, and I felt empowered by that thought. Seeing Mr. Thompson's encouraging smile, I continued. I had buried my confidence under layers of doubt. I thought everyone would see my flaws, but they actually saw potential. It was enlightening to express my journey to someone so respected in the company. This company culture was not just about competition. It was about collaboration and growth. "That's right," Mr. Thompson said, crossing his arms thoughtfully. "Confidence grows when you face fears. Now that you've embraced vulnerability, it opens doors for others to do the same too. Remember, a good leader is someone who fosters an environment where everyone feels safe sharing ideas." Feeling motivated, I realized I had a choice in how I would approach my role moving forward. Instead of being the shy assistant in the background, I had the power to guide conversations and initiatives by inviting my teammates to participate. Maybe I would even start a regular brainstorming session to share creative ideas, to spark that collaboration Mr. Thompson spoke about. As we wrapped up our conversation, my heart felt lighter, filled with a sense of purpose. The struggles I had faced were not setbacks but stepping stones. A more resilient version of me emerged from the challenges, one who saw the workplace as a space for both personal and collective growth. Walking back to my desk, I could see the office walls in a new light. Each desk was a part of a vibrant community, full of potential. No longer would I let fear dictate what I could contribute. I was ready to step into the future, armed with fresh confidence and the determination to cultivate an encouraging atmosphere, not just for myself, but for all my colleagues. With each passing day, the lessons I had learned began to transform my approach at Innovatech. The confidence spark ignited during the presentation had blossomed into a new mindset, and I was eager to embrace it fully. Gone were the doubts that had once clouded my thoughts. Instead, I felt energized by the possibilities ahead. The first change came at our daily team meetings. I started to speak up more often, sharing my ideas and contributing without hesitation. Each time I opened my mouth, I felt an exciting rush, as if I was reclaiming a part of myself that had been dormant for too long. My teammates responded positively, leaning in to listen whenever I offered a suggestion. Their nods and smiles motivated me further. One afternoon, as we discussed our current marketing campaign, Julie looked at me with genuine curiosity. "Alex, you seem to have a better grasp on social media trends now. What do you think we should focus on moving forward?" My heart raced at the invitation to share my thoughts. Instead of hesitating, I spoke clearly, explaining how we could engage more with our audience through interactive polls and real-time updates. Julie took notes, and I noticed a newfound respect in her eyes. This was a huge turnaround from just weeks ago when I felt invisible. As time went on, I also began to approach Mr. Thompson with more confidence. Instead of merely agreeing with his ideas or shying away from conversations about project ownership, I started to offer my insights during our one-on-one meetings. One day, I suggested we implement a feedback loop within our team where everyone could share thoughts on ongoing projects, fostering an environment of collaboration. He listened intently and nodded. "That's a great idea, Alex. Involving others will help everyone feel valued and connected to the projects." I realized then that I was not only applying what I'd learned, but I had the potential to lead initiatives that could change our work culture for the better. Meanwhile, I reached out to Brian and a few other colleagues to establish a regular brainstorming session. "Let's set aside time each week to discuss our ideas," I proposed one day over lunch. "I think it would be great for us to collaborate more closely." They were enthusiastic, and I felt a sense of fulfillment in creating this platform for open dialogue, especially when we kicked off our first session with laughter and free-flowing creativity. As we shared our thoughts in this welcoming environment, I could see the walls of unspoken worries crumbling down, allowing our ideas to flourish. Each participant felt encouraged to express themselves without the fear of judgment. I learned that even small shifts in how we communicated could foster connectivity, showing that collaboration was not just about getting help. It was about inspiring everyone to contribute their best self. Watching the team respond positively to these changes filled me with pride. One day, as I left the meeting room after a particularly engaging session, I felt lighter, not burdened by the weight of perfection, but uplifted by the spirit of teamwork and growth. I embraced the new dynamics we had created, excited about the direction we were heading. As they laughed and shared hopes for our next steps, I understood that my journey was far from over, but I was ready to embrace all challenges as stepping stones toward further growth. I had shifted from a place of doubt to one of opportunity and connection, and it felt invigorating. I now viewed my job not merely as a position I fulfilled, but as a collaborative role contributing meaningfully to a team with shared goals and dreams. There was more to come, and I was eager to discover all that lay ahead. As the weeks flowed by, I found myself deeply immersed in my work at Innovatech. The sense of purpose I had cultivated replaced the uncertainty that once clouded my days. Each morning, as I entered the office, I could feel a shift within me, a newfound excitement that energized my spirit. The months prior to this had been filled with doubt, but now I walked confidently toward my desk, ready to face challenges with a proactive mindset. The changes I initiated within the team were flourishing. Our brainstorming sessions were more vibrant than ever, filled with laughter, creativity, and shared ideas. We not only grew as individuals but also as a unit. My suggestion for a feedback loop had turned into a valuable practice. We regularly checked in with one another, celebrating victories and learning from our mistakes. It had transformed our work culture into one that valued openness, and I felt proud to be a part of it. Each time we gathered to discuss ideas, my heart swelled with gratitude for the supportive environment we had built together. Mr. Thompson often commended me for my initiative, his affirmations acting like fuel, igniting my spark even brighter. "You've truly become a key player in this team," he would say, recognizing how our collaborative spirit was influencing our projects. His encouragement reinforced my belief that I belonged here, and it inspired me to aim even higher. One day, while reviewing project updates, I noticed the positive energy radiating throughout the office. Everyone was willing to share their thoughts, creating a sense of camaraderie that hadn't been there before. I smiled, realizing how much I had helped to facilitate this environment. My own growth led to the growth of others, and that realization filled me with satisfaction. On a particularly sunny Friday afternoon, our team wrapped up a successful campaign that had garnered positive feedback from our clients. As we gathered around to celebrate, I looked at each of my colleagues, their faces beaming with pride and accomplishment. I felt a sense of clarity wash over me, a realization that embracing my true self allowed me to thrive and uplift others. Recognizing where I had started from, I took a moment to reflect on my journey. I recalled the fear that had once paralyzed me and how, with small pushes, I had begun to break free. Now, I had confidence in my thoughts and contributions, viewing challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. I was no longer just the quiet assistant. I was a vital voice in our team. That evening, during our celebration, I stood up to say a few words. "I have learned so much from each one of you," I expressed, looking around at my teammates. "We've built something special working together. Let's continue to help each other grow and let's make the most of the opportunities ahead. Cheers and applause erupted, echoing in warm vibrations through the room, felt deeply in every heart. I understood now that fostering a culture of support didn't end with one accomplishment. It was a continuous process. There were many challenges lying ahead, but I welcomed them with an open mind. Fulfilling my role became a source of enthusiasm instead of anxiety. I embraced the unknown with excitement instead of fear. I had stepped into a new chapter, not only as a confident contributor but as a catalyst for progress within a dynamic team. The belief that I could make a difference had transformed my journey, lighting a path for both myself and those around me. With that realization, I fastened my seatbelts for the exciting adventure ahead, aware that I had only just begun to unearth my potential.